Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something powerful today. People learn how to treat you by watching what you accept. Life will not hand you respect. You teach people how to talk to you, how to value you, and how to show up for you by the standards you set every single day. If you let someone walk all over you once, they will try it again. If you allow disrespect in silence, silence becomes your new language. You have to stand up for yourself, not by fighting, not by shouting, but by deciding what is no longer acceptable in your life. People treat you based on what you allow, and that truth follows you in every relationship, every friendship, every environment you enter in life. You can be the kindest person in the room, the most giving, the most understanding, and still be taken for granted if you keep accepting things that go against your worth. People don't learn your value from what you say, they learn it from what you tolerate. The moment you let something slide, someone somewhere learns that they can get away with it. Respect doesn't start with other people. Respect starts with you deciding how you deserve to be treated and refusing to lower that standard for anyone. Life is full of situations where you'll be tested. Someone will talk to you in a tone that doesn't sit right. Someone will take advantage of your kindness. Someone will cross a line and expect you to stay quiet just because you don't like conflict. Every time you allow something that hurts you, you're teaching them a lesson you don't want to teach. You're teaching them that your peace isn't important, that your feelings can be ignored, that your time can be wasted. You might not say a word. Silence is a language, and people read it clearly. They understand you're scared to speak up, scared to lose them, scared to set boundaries. And once they understand that, they shape their behavior around your fear instead of your worth. There comes a point when you must choose between keeping someone comfortable and keeping yourself respected. You can't have both. When you stop allowing disrespect, the people who truly value you adjust without being asked. They grow, they correct themselves, they show you that your standards matter. But the ones who are using you, draining you, taking advantage of your softness, they get irritated. They call you difficult. They say you're acting different. Of course you're acting different. You finally realized you matter too. Allowing bad treatment doesn't make you kind. Speaking up doesn't make you rude. Creating distance doesn't make you cold. It makes you aware. It makes you responsible for your own peace. You're not supposed to break yourself just to keep connections alive. You're supposed to protect yourself so that you stay whole enough to walk into the right connections. Every time you accept less, you shrink a little bit more. You silence yourself to keep the wrong people comfortable. You bend your values just to feel wanted. You make excuses for behavior that would break someone else. But the day you stop allowing it, everything shifts. People learn they can't talk to you any way they want. They learn they can't come and go whenever they want. They learn your heart is open, it's not unguarded. They learn your presence is warm, but it's not free. Teaching people how to treat you is not about changing them. It's about choosing you. When you choose you, the world finally learns how to follow. Your silence teaches people just as much as your words, sometimes even more. People think silence means weakness, but in reality, silence is a message that never needs explanation. It tells people what you are willing to accept, what you are willing to let slide, and what you are willing to overlook just to keep peace. Silence can be powerful, but it can also be dangerous when you use it in the wrong places. When you stay silent about disrespect, people assume they can continue disrespecting you. When you stay silent about your needs, people assume you don't have any. When you stay silent about your pain, people assume nothing hurts you. And slowly, without even realizing it, your silence becomes permission for others to treat you the way they choose instead of the way you deserve. There are moments when silence speaks strength. When someone tries to provoke you and you stay calm, that silence shows discipline. When someone tries to pull you into drama and you don't respond, that silence shows maturity. When someone underestimates you and you keep working quietly, that silence shows focus. But when someone crosses a line and you stay quiet out of fear, that silence shows them that your boundaries are open. When someone takes advantage of your kindness and you don't say anything, that silence tells them they can keep doing it. When someone gives you the bare minimum and you still stay, your silence teaches them that your heart will accept almost anything just to feel valued. People learn from your patterns. If you keep forgiving without change, silence says, "Try again, I'll accept it." If you keep explaining yourself to someone who refuses to understand, silence says, "I will lower myself for you." If you keep showing up for people who never show up for you, silence says, "My presence is easy to access." You don't have to shout to be heard, but you do have to stop rewarding behavior that breaks you. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is speak up once, clearly, calmly, and firmly, and let that be the last time you explain yourself. Silence becomes strength when it protects your peace, not when it sacrifices your worth. Silence becomes wisdom when you choose not to react, not when you choose to suffer quietly. You don't have to argue to show your value, but you also don't have to stay quiet to keep someone close. The right people don't require you to swallow your feelings. They respect your voice even when it's soft. They respect your needs even when they take effort. They respect your limits even when they require change. Your silence should never be the reason someone thinks they can treat you less than you deserve. Use your silence wisely. Let it show your strength, not hide your pain. Let it protect your heart, not trap it. And when silence no longer communicates what you need, let your voice rise just enough to remind the world who you are and what you stand for. Setting boundaries is not rude. It is self-respect, and it is one of the most important skills you will ever learn in life. People often confuse being nice with being available, being kind with being convenient, being understanding with being accepting of everything. But there comes a time when you realize that you can be the sweetest person in the world and still get walked over if you don't draw a line. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are doors that protect what matters. They tell the world how you expect to be treated, how you want to be spoken to, and what kind of energy you will allow into your life. Most people avoid setting boundaries because they're afraid of losing relationships. But the truth is, the people who disappear when you set boundaries are the ones who were benefiting from you having none. Anyone who truly respects you will understand your limits. Anyone who values your presence will appreciate your honesty. Anyone who wants a real connection with you will never be offended by you protecting your peace. Boundaries don't push the right people away. They filter out the wrong ones. You are allowed to say no without explaining yourself. You are allowed to walk away from conversations that drain you. You are allowed to distance yourself from people who treat you like an option. You are allowed to change your mind when something no longer feels right. And you are allowed to choose what is healthy for you, even if others don't understand it. Your life is not supposed to be shaped by other people's comfort. It is supposed to be shaped by your own clarity. Setting boundaries teaches people how to show up in your life. When you demand respect, people learn to speak to you with intention. When you expect honesty, people understand they can't play games with your mind. When you stop giving unlimited access to everyone, people learn that time with you is earned, not owed. And when you choose peace over pleasing everyone, people finally recognize that your heart may be kind, but it is not open to being abused. The hardest part about boundaries is sticking to them. You can set them one day and feel guilty the next. You can make a decision and then second guess yourself because you don't want to hurt anyone. Boundaries are not about hurting people, they are about healing yourself. They protect your emotional balance, your mental strength, your confidence, and your growth. A person with no boundaries becomes a person with no energy, no joy, and no direction. A person with strong boundaries becomes someone who knows their worth without shouting it. You owe it to yourself to create a life where you are respected, valued, heard, and appreciated. And none of that begins with someone else. It begins with you standing firm, choosing yourself, and refusing to let anyone cross lines that protect your peace. Boundaries are love, self-love, and the more you honor them, the more your life transforms. You attract how you carry yourself, and that truth follows you everywhere, into rooms you walk into conversations you have, into relationships you build, and into opportunities that come your way. People don't just react to your words, they respond to your energy, your posture, your confidence, and the way you hold yourself even when no one is watching. When you carry yourself with strength, people feel it. When you carry yourself with doubt, people see it. You teach the world how to treat you by the way you present yourself every single day. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room to demand respect. You don't need fancy clothes, big titles, or impressive status. Respect starts with inner posture, with the belief that you deserve to be treated with dignity. When you stand tall, look people in the eye, and speak clearly, your presence becomes louder than any words you could ever say. People read confidence long before they hear it. They pick up on how you move, how you think, and how you handle yourself under pressure. And whether you realize it or not, you are always teaching people what level of treatment you expect. If you walk around acting like you don't matter, people will treat you like you don't. If you act like your time isn't valuable, people will waste it. If you move like you're desperate for approval, people will feel comfortable offering you the bare minimum. But when you carry yourself with self-worth, everything changes. People become careful with their words around you. They think twice before crossing boundaries. They understand your presence requires effort, honesty, and respect. You attract the energy you project. Carrying yourself with confidence doesn't mean pretending you're perfect. It means knowing you're worthy even with flaws. It means not shrinking yourself just to make others comfortable. It means refusing to apologize for having standards. It means choosing to show up with intention instead of insecurity. The way you walk into a room can either say, "I hope they like me," or it can say, "I belong here." And the difference between those two messages changes everything about the way people respond to you. Life gives you back the energy you put into it. If you move with fear, you attract situations that confirm your fear. If you move with strength, you attract opportunities that match your strength. If you carry yourself like someone who knows their direction, life opens doors aligned with that direction. People who value themselves naturally attract people who value them. People who treat themselves with respect naturally attract environments where they are respected. At some point, you have to stop waiting for others to acknowledge your worth and start presenting yourself like someone worthy of being acknowledged. Your presence should speak before your mouth does. Your energy should introduce you before your name does. And your confidence should guide you long before anyone decides to validate you. When you carry yourself like someone who deserves the best, life has no choice but to bring the best toward you. The moment you stop explaining yourself, you gain your power, because constantly explaining yourself drains your strength, lowers your standards, and teaches people that your decisions need their approval. You don't owe anyone a full breakdown of why you chose peace, why you walked away, why you elevated your standards. why you change the direction of your life. When you keep explaining yourself over and over, you give people permission to question your worth. You give them room to challenge your choices. You hand them authority over decisions that were never theirs to begin with. And slowly, without even realizing it, you start living your life for their understanding instead of your own clarity. There are people who don't want your explanation, they want your confusion. They want you to doubt yourself so they can keep control. They want you to justify what you feel so they can call you dramatic, emotional, or unreasonable. They want you to defend your boundaries so they can push them further. Every time you explain yourself to the wrong person, you're trying to convince someone who already decided not to respect your perspective. The more you explain, the more they take advantage. The more you justify, the more they play innocent. The more you clarify, the more they pretend not to understand. Some people understand you perfectly, they just benefit when you stay uncertain. Power begins when you realize you don't need permission to choose yourself. You don't need to justify your distance to someone who never valued your closeness. You don't need to explain your silence to someone who ignored your words. You don't need to defend your growth to someone committed to staying the same. You are allowed to protect your peace without a speech. You are allowed to walk away from disrespect without a warning. You are allowed to elevate your life without a committee meeting. Clarity is internal. Approval is external. Only one of those leads to real freedom. People respect you more when you stand firm. When you stop explaining, you become unpredictable in the best way, not because you're cold, because you're no longer emotionally available for manipulation. You move with purpose instead of excuses. You make decisions out of strength instead of fear. You create boundaries out of self-love instead of guilt. And when people see that you are no longer bending, shrinking, or apologizing for your standards, they step back and reconsider how they treat you. Not everyone deserves access to your reasoning. Not everyone has earned the right to hear your heart. Not everyone qualifies to be inside your mind. Sometimes the strongest move is a simple calm, "This is what I choose," followed by action, no debate, no explanation, no defending. Just a quiet confidence that says, "I know who I am, I know what I want, and I don't need you to agree for me to move forward." You gain power the moment you realize that your life doesn't need to be understood, it needs to be lived. You show people how to treat you by how you treat yourself, because the world mirrors back the energy, the confidence, and the standards you carry within. If you walk around doubting your worth, others will doubt it too. If you keep choosing people who don't value you, others will assume you don't value yourself. If you treat your dreams casually, others will treat them like they don't matter. Everything begins with the relationship you have with yourself, the way you speak to yourself, the way you push yourself, the way you take care of your mind and your heart. All of it teaches people what level of respect you expect. You can't demand loyalty from others when you aren't loyal to your own goals. You can't ask people to value your time when you waste your own on things that drain you. You can't expect others to speak to you with kindness when you spend your days tearing yourself down on the inside. People don't just react to what you tell them, they react to what you model every single day. When you treat yourself with care, people learn they have to be careful with you. When you treat yourself with respect, people learn your boundaries before you even say a word. When you walk with confidence, people learn they have to rise to your level or step aside. The truth is, most people respond to the standard you set for yourself long before you set a standard for them. If you keep giving second chances to people who don't deserve first chances, you're teaching them that your heart is an easy place to return to. If you keep allowing bad behavior because you fear being alone. You're teaching them that your loneliness is stronger than your self respect. If you keep accepting the bare minimum